Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world that celebrates busyness. The more meetings you attend, the more emails you send, the longer your to-do list, the more impressive it seems. But here's the truth. Being busy is not the same as being productive. In fact, busyness is often a mask for lack of focus, lack of direction, and lack of results. Productivity is not about how much you do, it's about how much meaningful impact you create. Let's begin by understanding the difference. Busy people are constantly reacting. They respond to notifications, interruptions, and demands. Productive people are proactive. They focus on what truly moves the needle. One of the first steps toward productivity is clarity. Ask yourself, what are my top priorities? What outcomes matter most? Without clarity, even the most packed schedule can be a recipe for wasted energy. Next, we must learn the art of saying no. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your core priorities, you dilute your energy and attention. Productivity is not about doing more things, it's about doing the right things consistently. Protect your time as if it were the most precious resource it is, because it truly is. Another key element is intentional planning. Busy people often move from task to task without a sense of direction. Productive people create intentional routines, set deadlines, and review progress regularly. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. Identify the tasks that produce the highest impact and focus your energy there. Equally important is the practice of reflection. Productivity is not measured solely by what you achieve in a day, but by what you learn, improve, and optimize for tomorrow. Take time to assess what worked well. What could I do differently? This continuous cycle of action, reflection, and refinement is what separates real results from mere activity. Finally, remember that productivity is sustainable. It is about creating momentum without burning out. True productivity balances focus and energy. It allows you to achieve more in less time while preserving your health, creativity, and joy. Stop glorifying being busy and start prioritizing what matters. Your results and your life will reflect the difference. 5 keynotes of the speech Busy vs. Productive. Understand the difference between being constantly active and producing meaningful results. Clarity of purpose. Focus on top priorities to maximize impact and avoid wasted effort. The power of saying no. Protect your time by declining tasks and activities that don't align with your goals. Intentional planning. Work smarter, not harder, by structuring tasks that produce the highest outcomes. Reflect and optimize. Regular reflection ensures continuous improvement and sustainable productivity. Busy versus productive is a distinction that too many people overlook in their daily lives, yet it is one of the most important differences when it comes to achieving meaningful results. Being busy often feels like accomplishment because our society rewards visible activity. When someone is running from meeting to meeting, responding to constant messages, juggling multiple tasks at once, or staying late at work, we instinctively assume they are making progress. There is a sense of pride in being busy. It signals dedication, effort, and hard work. But this is often an illusion. Activity alone does not guarantee outcomes. You can be endlessly engaged in tasks without ever moving closer to your true goals. Busy work is reactive. It reacts to the demands of others, to the urgent notifications that constantly interrupt your day, and to the expectations of a culture that equates motion with value. In contrast, productivity is proactive. It is intentional, purposeful, and results-oriented. Productive people do not confuse motion with accomplishment. They focus on activities that have the highest impact, and they align their daily efforts with their long-term objectives. Every decision, every task, and every commitment is filtered through the lens of purpose. Understanding this distinction is crucial, because without it, you risk spending your life in constant motion while achieving very little that truly matters. When we examine the behavior of busy people, patterns emerge that illustrate why busyness can be so misleading. Busy individuals often operate in a state of urgency. Their days are filled with interruptions, and they feel compelled to respond immediately to every message, call, or request. They may have overflowing email inboxes, never-ending task lists, and calendars packed with meetings that often have little connection to their strategic goals. Despite all this activity, there is rarely a sense of direction or progress toward meaningful outcomes. In contrast, productive individuals prioritize. They recognize that not all tasks are created equal. Some actions drive significant results while others are distractions. By identifying and focusing on high-value tasks, productive people maximize the return on their time and energy. They approach work with clarity and purpose, asking themselves, what will truly move the needle? Before saying yes to any commitment. Being busy can also create the illusion of control. Many people feel productive simply because they are constantly occupied, believing that if they keep moving, they are making progress. However, this type of busyness often leads to fatigue, stress, and diminished creativity. Productivity, on the other hand, is sustainable. It is about creating leverage through smart choices, efficient processes, and deliberate focus, rather than trying to do everything at once. Another critical aspect of the difference between being busy and being productive is time allocation. Busy people often allocate time based on urgency, reacting to whatever demands attention in the moment. This leaves little room for strategic thinking or long-term planning. Productive people allocate time based on importance. They block off periods for deep work, focus on high-impact activities, and avoid the trap of responding to every small distraction. This conscious management of time ensures that their energy is invested where it matters most. Recognizing the distinction between busy and productive also requires honesty and self-awareness. It is easy to rationalize constant activity as necessary, to convince ourselves that everything we do is essential. But without stepping back and evaluating the true impact of our actions, we cannot determine whether we are genuinely productive or merely busy. Reflection and assessment are crucial. Ask yourself which tasks actually move you closer to your goals and which ones are simply keeping you occupied. One of the key consequences of confusing busyness with productivity is a misalignment between effort and outcome. People often feel exhausted at the end of the day, believing they have accomplished much, when in reality, little has changed in terms of meaningful progress. This is not just inefficient, it is demoralizing. Understanding the difference between busy and productive allows you to focus your energy on what matters most, to create measurable results, and to achieve satisfaction from tangible accomplishments rather than the illusion of activity. In essence, being busy is about filling time, while being productive is about achieving results. Recognizing this distinction is the first step toward transforming how we work and live. By deliberately choosing focus over frenzy, prioritizing impact over motion, and aligning our actions with our goals, we move from a state of perpetual busyness into a state of purposeful productivity that delivers real results. Clarity of purpose is the foundation of true productivity. Without a clear understanding of what you want to achieve and why it matters, your efforts can easily become scattered, unfocused, and ineffective. Many people go through life reacting to circumstances rather than directing them. They wake up with a vague sense of urgency, a long to-do list, and a multitude of distractions, and they assume that moving constantly equals progress. But without clarity, even the most disciplined and hardworking individual can expend immense energy without achieving meaningful results. When you have clarity of purpose, every decision, every task, and every moment of your time becomes aligned with your long-term objectives. Clarity acts like a compass. It points you in the direction of what truly matters and helps you avoid being sidetracked by minor urgencies or tasks that appear important but ultimately contribute little to your goals. To achieve clarity, it is essential to define your priorities explicitly. What outcomes are most important to you? Which goals, if achieved, will have the greatest impact on your personal or professional life? By identifying these critical priorities, you create a filter for all decisions. Any activity, meeting, or commitment that does not serve these priorities can be reconsidered, delayed, delegated, or eliminated. This does not mean that everything you do must be monumental, but it does mean that your efforts are guided by intentionality rather than default habit. Clarity of purpose also brings focus to your work. In a world of constant interruptions, multitasking, and endless streams of information, Focus is a scarce and valuable resource. Without clarity, you are pulled in multiple directions at once, trying to satisfy competing demands and expectations. This scattered energy reduces effectiveness, increases stress, and creates a sense of frustration. When your purpose is clear, focus naturally follows. You can concentrate on the high-value tasks that drive progress, avoiding the temptation to get lost in activities that keep you busy but add little real value. Another important aspect of clarity is the alignment of short-term actions with long-term goals. It is easy to get caught up in urgent tasks that demand immediate attention, but have minimal impact on your ultimate objectives. Clarity of purpose allows you to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. Urgent tasks may demand speed, but important tasks demand attention because they contribute to meaningful outcomes. By consistently asking, "Does this action move me closer to my most important goals?" you maintain alignment between daily activities and your overarching vision. Clarity also enhances decision-making. When you know what matters most, you can make choices quickly and confidently without wasting time guessing yourself or being swayed by distractions. This decisiveness reduces mental clutter, prevents procrastination, and increases efficiency. Furthermore, clarity of purpose is deeply motivating. When you understand why you are doing something and the impact it will have, you are more likely to stay committed, even in the face of challenges or obstacles. Motivation derived from external pressure, urgency, or fear is fleeting, but motivation rooted in clarity and meaningful objectives sustains long-term effort and resilience. Developing clarity requires reflection, introspection, and sometimes difficult prioritization. It is not enough to have vague ambitions or general ideas of success. You must articulate your goals, understand their significance, and continuously evaluate whether your daily actions align with them. This process creates a roadmap for productivity, providing direction in a world that constantly tempts you to chase the trivial and the immediate. In essence, clarity of purpose transforms the way you work. It allows you to channel your energy, focus your efforts, and make decisions that consistently produce meaningful results. Without clarity, even the most industrious person can find themselves exhausted at the end of the day with little to show for their effort. With clarity, every action becomes intentional, every decision purposeful, and every step taken a meaningful part of a journey toward tangible success. The power of clarity lies not just in knowing what to do, but in knowing why it matters and letting that understanding guide every aspect of your productivity. The power of saying no is one of the most underrated tools in achieving true productivity. Many people feel obligated to say yes to requests, to opportunities, to tasks, believing that agreeing to everything demonstrates dedication, loyalty, or competence. Yet, saying yes indiscriminately is one of the fastest ways to dilute focus, waste energy, and compromise progress toward meaningful goals. Productivity is not about doing more things, it is about doing the right things consistently, and saying no is essential to protecting the space, time, and energy required to do so. Saying no is fundamentally about boundaries. Every commitment you take on consumes a portion of your time, attention, and mental bandwidth. If these resources are spent on low-value tasks or distractions, they are no longer available for high-impact work. Recognizing this is the first step in understanding the importance of saying no. Each no preserves the possibility of a yes that truly matters, an opportunity, project, or task that aligns with your priorities and contributes meaningfully to your goals. The challenge is that saying no is often uncomfortable. Many people fear disappointing others, missing opportunities, or appearing uncooperative. This fear leads to overcommitment, and while being busy may seem impressive, it often comes at the cost of progress and personal well-being. Learning to say no requires confidence, self-awareness, and clarity about what is truly important. It requires evaluating every request against your priorities and asking, "Does this action move me closer to my most important goals, or is it merely a distraction? If it does not contribute meaningfully, the answer should be no, delivered respectfully and decisively. Saying no is also a proactive strategy rather than a reactive one. It is not about rejecting people or opportunities for the sake of avoidance. It is about making intentional choices about how your time and energy are invested. Productive people understand that their impact is determined not by how many things they attempt, but by how well they execute the most important tasks. By saying no to non-essential commitments, they free themselves to focus on high-value work, deepen their expertise, and produce tangible results. Another aspect of saying no is that it protects your energy and prevents burnout. Taking on too many tasks, especially those that do not align with your priorities, leads to stress, fatigue, and reduced effectiveness. When you say no strategically, you create the mental and emotional bandwidth necessary to tackle significant challenges, think creatively, and maintain consistent performance over time. This discipline of selectivity also improves the quality of your contributions. When you focus on fewer tasks but give them your full attention and effort, the outcomes are naturally superior. Saying yes to everything often spreads effort too thin, resulting in mediocre work across multiple areas. In contrast, the ability to say no creates the conditions for excellence. It also establishes respect, both for yourself and from others. When people see that you make deliberate choices and prioritize effectively, they recognize your professionalism and dedication to quality. It communicates that your time is valuable and that you are committed to meaningful work rather than simply staying busy. Developing the habit of saying no requires practice. It may involve politely declining requests, setting clear boundaries, or renegotiating timelines. Initially, it may feel awkward or uncomfortable, especially if you are used to accommodating everyone's needs. Over time, however, it becomes empowering, as you realize that every no strengthens your capacity to say yes to what truly matters. Finally, saying no is not a one-time decision, but a continuous practice. Life constantly presents new demands, distractions, and opportunities, and maintaining focus requires ongoing discernment. By consistently evaluating requests and filtering them through the lens of your priorities, you ensure that your energy remains invested in work that produces meaningful results. In essence, the ability to say no transforms your productivity from reactive busyness into intentional, purpose-driven action. It protects your focus, preserves your energy, and enables you to devote yourself fully to tasks that truly matter. Learning to say no is not a limitation, it is a powerful strategy for maximizing impact, achieving goals, and creating a life defined by purpose rather than perpetual motion. Intentional planning is a cornerstone of true productivity, yet it is a skill that many people overlook in their daily routines. Too often, we move from task to task, meeting to meeting, without a clear sense of direction, believing that activity alone will lead to results. This reactive approach may keep us busy, but it rarely produces meaningful outcomes. Intentional planning, on the other hand, transforms how we use our time, energy, and resources, allowing us to focus on the tasks that truly matter and achieve results efficiently. At the heart of intentional planning is foresight. It requires looking beyond immediate demands and considering the larger picture, your goals, priorities, and desired outcomes. Without this perspective, it is easy to become entangled in tasks that feel urgent but contribute little to long-term objectives. Planning intentionally means deciding in advance where your attention and effort will be invested, rather than leaving it to chance or reacting to the next notification, meeting, or interruption. One key aspect of intentional planning is prioritization. Not all tasks are equal, and productivity is not about completing everything on your to-do list. It is about identifying the activities that have the greatest impact and focusing your energy on them. Intentional planning allows you to rank tasks according to their importance, allocate time accordingly, and avoid spending disproportionate effort on low-value activities. By making these choices deliberately, you ensure that your actions produce meaningful results rather than merely filling time. Another critical component is scheduling. Intentional planners structure their days, weeks, and even months to create dedicated periods for deep work, reflection, and high-priority tasks. They recognize that distractions are inevitable, and by intentionally blocking off time for important work, they reduce the risk of interruptions derailing progress. Scheduling is not about rigidity, it is about creating a framework that allows focus, discipline, and flexibility to coexist. Intentional planning also emphasizes clarity in task execution. It is not enough to know what needs to be done. You must also understand how it will be done, when it will be done, and what resources are required. By clarifying these details ahead of time, you minimize confusion, reduce wasted effort, and increase efficiency. This level of preparation ensures that when you begin work, you can act decisively rather than getting stuck in uncertainty or distraction. Furthermore, intentional planning integrates regular review and adjustment. Productivity is not a static process, and plans must evolve as circumstances change. Effective planners assess progress frequently, evaluate what is working and what is not, and refine their strategies accordingly. This iterative approach ensures that effort remains aligned with goals and that resources are always directed toward the most valuable activities. Intentional planning also fosters discipline and accountability. When tasks and priorities are clearly defined, it becomes easier to stay on track and resist the temptation of low-value distractions. You create a system that holds you accountable not only to external commitments, but to your own objectives, reinforcing habits that support consistent, meaningful productivity. A significant benefit of intentional planning is the reduction of stress and mental clutter. When you have a plan in place, you are less likely to feel overwhelmed by the multitude of tasks and responsibilities competing for your attention. There is a sense of control and confidence that comes from knowing what needs to be done and having a clear path for achieving it. Finally, intentional planning is a mindset as much as it is a method. It requires a commitment to act with purpose, to evaluate the value of each action, and to align effort with outcome. It encourages deliberate choices, focused execution, and the constant refinement of strategies to maximize impact. Those who embrace intentional planning move beyond the reactive cycle of busyness and enter a state where their work is meaningful, focused, and highly effective. In essence, intentional planning is about working smarter rather than harder. It ensures that every action contributes toward a defined purpose, transforms energy into measurable results, and allows you to achieve more in less time while maintaining clarity, focus, and balance. By adopting this approach, you create a framework for sustained productivity, where your time and effort are invested with intention and precision. Reflection and optimization are fundamental practices that separate mere activity from true productivity. Many people spend their days moving quickly, completing tasks, attending meetings, and responding to emails. Yet they rarely take the time to evaluate whether their efforts are producing meaningful results. Without reflection, it is easy to fall into patterns of busyness that feel productive but yield little actual progress. Optimization, on the other hand, ensures that the time and energy we invest are continually refined to maximize impact. Reflection begins with honest self-assessment. At the end of a day, week, or project, productive individuals take a step back and ask themselves critical questions. What went well? What could have been done differently? Which actions led to meaningful progress, and which consumed energy without tangible results? This process of analysis allows for a clear understanding of the effectiveness of one's actions and highlights areas for improvement. It is not about judgment or self-criticism, but about gaining insight and learning from experience. Reflection also cultivates awareness of patterns and habits. Many of us repeat behaviors without considering whether they contribute to our goals. By regularly reflecting, we identify which routines, strategies, and approaches consistently produce positive outcomes, and which ones lead to wasted effort. This awareness is the first step toward making deliberate changes that enhance productivity over time. Optimization is the natural extension of reflection. Once insights are gained, productive individuals take deliberate action to refine their processes, eliminate inefficiencies, and enhance performance. Optimization can take many forms: adjusting workflows, prioritizing high-impact tasks, delegating or automating repetitive work, and improving time management techniques. The goal is to continually enhance the ratio of effort to results, ensuring that energy is invested in the most effective ways possible. One of the most powerful aspects of reflection and optimization is the ability to anticipate and prevent mistakes. By analyzing past performance, we can identify pitfalls, bottlenecks, and distractions that have hindered progress. This foresight allows us to plan more effectively and make smarter decisions in the future. It transforms productivity from a reactive process into a proactive one, where we learn from experience and strategically apply those lessons moving forward. Reflection and optimization also foster adaptability. In a constantly changing environment, what worked yesterday may not be as effective today. By regularly assessing results and adjusting strategies, we remain agile and capable of responding to new challenges without losing focus on core objectives. This iterative process of evaluation and improvement ensures that productivity is sustainable and resilient over the long term. Additionally, reflection promotes clarity and purpose. By taking the time to review accomplishments and setbacks, we gain a deeper understanding of what truly matters, which tasks have the highest impact, and where our efforts are most valuable. This clarity informs future planning, decision making, and prioritization, reinforcing a cycle of continuous improvement. Reflection is also a powerful motivator. Recognizing achievements, even small ones, provides a sense of progress and reinforces productive behaviors. At the same time, identifying areas for improvement encourages learning and growth, turning challenges into opportunities for development rather than sources of frustration. Optimization is not limited to individual tasks, but extends to overall systems and strategies. Productive individuals constantly evaluate the effectiveness of their methods, tools, and approaches, seeking ways to streamline work, reduce unnecessary effort, and increase output. This systemic thinking ensures that improvements are sustainable and cumulative, rather than isolated or temporary. The combination of reflection and optimization transforms how we approach work. It encourages intentionality, strategic thinking, and continuous growth. Rather than being caught in the cycle of busy work, individuals who practice these habits learn to focus on what matters, eliminate what does not, and consistently improve their performance. In essence, reflection and optimization are about creating a feedback loop for productivity. Each cycle of evaluation, learning, and adjustment strengthens efficiency, effectiveness, and impact. By integrating these practices into daily routines, individuals ensure that their efforts are not only consistent, but increasingly powerful over time, turning activity into meaningful results and transforming productivity into a skillful, deliberate, and sustainable practice. In the end, the difference between being busy and being productive comes down to intention, focus, and mindful action. It is not the sheer volume of tasks that defines success, but the meaningful impact of the work we choose to prioritize. By understanding the distinction between busyness and productivity, gaining clarity of purpose, learning to say no, planning intentionally, and reflecting to optimize our actions, we create a framework that allows us to achieve more with less wasted energy. True productivity is sustainable, deliberate, and result-driven. It empowers us to focus on what matters, to make decisions with confidence, and to dedicate our time and energy to the actions that create lasting value. So, let us stop glorifying being busy and start embracing productivity in its truest sense. Let us choose purpose over motion, results over activity, and intentional action over endless distraction. When we do this, we do more than just get things done. We create impact, move closer to our goals, and live a life defined by focus, clarity, and achievement.